All right, so now we're going to do ones that are a little bit more complicated, multiple terms, which means that pretty much just what gets more complicated here is that you're just plugging in these values for multiple pieces. So it's just multi-step. Feel free to just type it all in one foul swoop in one line in your calculator. Go ahead and find the derivative. Once we're done with that, we then need to evaluate. We're plugging in -2 first. And then subtracting out when we plug in -4. Remember that when we square a negative, it becomes positive. So this would be 3 times +4, which would be 12, minus 4, that would be -4. -4 squared is 16. 16 times 3 is 48, minus 8. And that should be your final answer. Okay, I want you to do E completely on your own. See if you can do it from start to finish on your own. First, we need to find the integral. Going up by 1 makes it cubed, and then divide by 3. Going up by 1 makes it squared, divide by 2, plus C. And then we need to evaluate that integral. Without the C, because it just cancels out. From -1 to 2. We plug in 2 first. And then subtract out when we plug in -1. I make sure to put my squared outside of the parentheses there, so I know that that -1 then becomes positive. 2 cubed is 8. 8 times 8 thirds is 64 thirds. Plus 2 squared is 4. 4 times 5 halves is 20 halves. Minus, that becomes -8 thirds, because -1 cubed is still -1. So the -1 times 8 thirds is -8 thirds. -1 squared is just +1, so that just stays 5 halves. Which means I get 64 thirds plus 8 thirds, right? Distributing that negative to that would make it plus, and then I put it with a common denominator. You could also not do this by hand and just plug this straight into your calculator. Plus 20 thirds minus 5 thirds. You put this all together and you get 63 halves, which is equal to the decimal 31.5. So this is your straightforward way to find a definite integral. This is not any of the like word problems that we would be experiencing, right? But this is just the calculations that need to happen. There's a lot of practice for this on your resources page. So if you're like, oh, I don't know, you can absolutely use that to practice. Example 2 shows you how you can use your calculator to solve for these. So you can absolutely use your calculator to solve for definite integrals. I want to warn you though, just like how we could use our calculator before to solve for the derivative and solve for values with the derivative, we can use it. We shouldn't always be using it. And that is because a lot of times in the IB, it'll first say like, hey, find the integral. And then once you find the integral, it says, okay, use your integral to solve between this and this value. So you would need to show that you would know how to find a definite integral by hand. But sometimes you're also given on the IB exam problems that are, well, you know how to solve for the derivative, or sorry, for the integral for this guy. You don't know how to solve for the integral for this guy. And so what you would do instead is you would have to use your calculator. This is for TI Nspire, TI 84s. I have a video link prepared for you right here that you can watch. So for our TI Nspires, you would press menu and then, which is the place that we always start. And then we always have this list. And notice that on this list, we have calculus. So we're going to click on calculus, which is 4. And then we want the numerical integral. The numerical integral, once you click on it, looks exactly like how we set up these problems. So we go from 3 to 5, and then we want to go ahead and write out this equation. D of W. And it gives us the value. Cool. This is also a great way to just double check your work. If you find the definite integral and you're like, I'm not sure if this is correct, you could always use this as a way to double check that it is correct. However, just be aware that you do need to show your work, and in some cases, you will be asked to show how one would use the equation of the integral in order to then solve for the definite integral. I want for you to do part B on your own. So just follow these steps. Here you have the steps, and here's how you write it out. Realize E is a number, right? Not a variable. So don't press E down on your keypad. Press this E right here. We get this value. If we were going to 3 sig figs, that would just be 11,000. Because remember that those zeros count as significant figures if we include the 9. That would be 5 significant figures if we did that. Okay. Example 3, the word problems, where it starts to get more IB level.